Hey everyone, it's Beastius. I'm here to give you my thoughts on Coraline, which is the product of a new animation studio found right here in Oregon called Laika. This movie is directed by Henry Selick, who was the mastermind behind Nightmare Before Christmas, which is, in my opinion, the second greatest animated film of all time. The first being Akira, but that is a different debate. So for those of you who don't know, the movie is essentially a fantasy where a little girl discovers a door to another universe where everything is perfect, but it's all a trap because there's some witch who wants to love her to death or something. I don't know. I mean, the witch apparently is really insecure. She wants more kids to love and lures Coraline through this door to I don't know, have her be her other daughter or something. The animation is really, really interesting. I'm one of these people who I really miss 2D animation, and seeing the stop motion was really a nice, refreshing change from all the 3D garbage that's out there. Pixar is really the only animation house, in my opinion, that does any work that's consistent, and everything else that comes out here is really, really hit or miss. So the animation was really, really nice. They've also been advertising that this movie takes advantage of 3D, and I think that that's total crap. 3D is just a gimmick, and I kept reading reviews saying, it's really going to add to the story, and it's going to do things we've never had 3D do before, and in the end, it just doesn't do anything. I mean, things in the foreground look a little closer to you, and things in the background look a little further away, but as far as the 3D making this unique animation experience, it's just not there. So if you were looking forward to a 3D, movie, don't get your hopes up. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a theater around me that sold movie tickets in anything but 3D, so I was forced to pay another, $10 for my ticket. So my biggest complaint about the movie was that the pacing was really, really off. The first two-thirds are really, really slow, and Coraline, especially the first act, you get to know Coraline, you get to know some of the characters, but it just doesn't do anything. And if it wasn't in stop motion, I would just say it was a really boring movie. I mean, at first you're kind of, introduced to the style of it, which is nice, and then, it starts to pick up in the second act, and once it gets to the third act, it really gets going. But the first two-thirds of the movie are, I dare say, pretty boring. The movie isn't as vibrant and colorful as Nightmare Before Christmas, and I understand that it's not Nightmare Before Christmas 2, but you can't help compare between the two of them. I mean, the directing styles are very similar, and just by the look of it and the fantastical nature of all the characters. That being said, there were a lot of positive things about this movie. The first thing that really stands out is that the movie's rated PG, and Nightmare Before Christmas, I believe, was rated PG-13, and rightly so. This movie has some pretty dark imagery. I mean, it has some imagery and some characters that are really frightening. I had the privilege of watching it with kids. Kids were all around me, and there were some moments where they were screaming and terrified because some of the character design, especially of the witch in her final form, was really scary. Also, the little bat terrier dogs with the glowing red eyes were, it really reminded me of Gozer from Ghostbusters, actually. Those terror hounds, I mean, those things were really scary, and those characters kind of harked back to that. So back to my original point, the movie is not necessarily intended for kids. I think that, there's this misconception that just because something's animated that it's going to be for kids, and this movie doesn't do that. It doesn't pull any punches with regards to subject matter or material. It's honestly more of a modern day fairy tale come to life. If you look at all the old Brothers Grimm tales and things, they're actually very, very dark and deal with really dark subject matter, and I think that Coraline is kind of along those lines, and for its part, it does a really good job of telling that story and bringing it to life. I believe it was adapted from a book, and from what I understand, the people that read the book are upset, but those people are always upset because, hey, it's not the book, it's a movie adapted from a book, but whatever. As for the voice acting, it's nothing special. It's Dakota Fanning most of the time. She's fine, I guess. I mean, nothing, like I say, nothing really that special. The music isn't anything to write home about either. There's nothing special about it. In fact, I can't even remember what it sounded like, to be honest. This movie is basically just a feast for the eyes. It's, visually compelling when it wants to be, and can be pretty frightening for younger audiences also. Truthfully, I don't know if I'd bring my kids, if I had kids, to this movie. But for anyone else that can sit back and enjoy animation, I would recommend it, even though, like I said before, that the pacing is a little off in the beginning to the point where I think it's distracting. The final letter grade I would give this movie is a B. It's definitely not as good as Nightmare Before Christmas, although it probably was swinging for that. I think that it was trying to take a step forward, and they did make some steps forward with regards to like how animation is presented, but as far as making a more compelling and complete piece, I think that it did fall a little short. So in the end, if you like animation, check it out. If you like Nightmare, check it out. But I wouldn't get my hopes up for anything that's going to be groundbreaking. So as always, post thoughts, post video responses, post anything that's going to get a dialogue started about this movie. And I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.